Welcome to Fast Fridays, presented by Maconi Setup Shop, as we get set for the money race, presented by Maconi Setup Shop from Talladega Super Speedway. We've revamped the format for this series for this year, and tonight, with it being the first money race, 30 cars have a chance to take the track for $250 cash after 100 laps. For those who haven't joined us before, Fast Fridays is a weekly series by Maconi Setup Shop, featuring a variety of car and track combinations each week with a revamped format that we've seen throughout the season. Drivers enter those races through 3 qualifying races. And throughout the season, the top 20 in points automatically qualify their way into tonight's money race. My name's Justin Prince. Along with the booth tonight is Robert Hill, with David Kreutz working the controls as our producer. Using cameras provided by the great Dougie Beard. Robert, Talladega always provides chaos and a favorite of many drivers, but with $250 for the winner, what do we expect to see with that little extra incentive to set chaos?
Yeah, good evening, Justin. Good evening, everybody. Welcome here to Talladega. Tonight's going to be a very interesting race. Like you mentioned, $250 cash on the line for the winner. But what we're going to see throughout the event is drivers trying to take it easy in the early portions of the race, making sure they're there at the end. But when it comes down to the last 20, 15 laps or so, everyone's going to be gunning for the front. And with these Gen 4 cars, they don't line up as well as some of the other cars when it comes to bump drafting. So watch for some wrecks late that lead to a couple green-white checker attempts and a battle for just a few laps for $250.
And in turn, it's going to provide a lot of pressure. The same can be said for qualifying, because as these drivers zip around the racetrack for the 90-minute, 100-lap main event, here's the key thing to consider. The amount of entries in the field, 50. The amount of guaranteed spots, 30. Keep in mind, the drivers on points, the top 5 of those essentially have provisionals for tonight. In other words, if you do not have a provisional amongst the point standings, you have to qualify top 25 or you risk being sent home. Only the top 30, including those provisionals, will make the field for tonight. And these drivers have a very stacked field ahead of them. A lot of regulars like Colin Kauser, Andrew Player and company, but a lot of others coming into play to see if they can win. Like Talladega comes up to mind. The Canadian Ryan Messer, the short track racer from the Atlantic coast, and many more looking to see if tonight's their night to stick out, Robert.
Absolutely. And like you mentioned, Justin, qualifying going to be very important for these drivers this evening. The key to a good qualifying attempt here at Talladega, much like Daytona, is taking that warm-up lap and your first lap, getting the car completely up to speed. And then when it comes to go time, when the white flag comes out, you're going to want to run close to the bottom, not necessarily right on the yellow lane, but keeping it down and not moving the steering wheel. Every motion with the wheel is going to scrub some time off of your lap and put that risk of missing the show even higher. So watch these drivers to be extremely focused here with just about 2 minutes to go in qualifying money laps coming on the board, and we'll see who's going to make the show and who's going to be going home.
As we keep on seeing how the drivers are faring out in qualifying, Dalton McKinney currently at the top time with 51.7. First lap, Scott Garner second, Paul Limnall in third position, Richard Giamatti followed by Gavin McCool amongst the top 5 in the session. McCool just jumped up the board. Those times expected to shuffle a bit though, because a lot of those second laps coming to a close as Brad Prainer has just jumped to the top of the board. Jonathan Tuckness now jumps to the top of the board. One of the Stars drivers, Maconi Setup Shop back competitors to the top of the board. Never mind, Tanner Talrico top of the board. Never mind, Holy Kauser top of the board.
This is going to continue to change for the next minute and a half or so until it comes down to the checkered flag here in qualifying. But every driver going to be trying to get absolutely everything they can out of these race cars. And then when it comes time to actually getting the race underway, it's going to be a total change of mindset. You're going to want to focus on keeping your car clean, staying alive, being there at the end, rather than going as fast as you possibly can around this racetrack, as Kowser continues to lead the way here in qualifying in front of Hendra and Tallarico, as now Curran jumps up to second. He's going to lock himself in the show, and Bryce Hamrick moves up to sixth on the charts, one of the drivers from the TKC series here on Monday nights.
And in turn, with this being said, there's so much to keep in mind tonight. The bubble right now continuing to shuffle. Robert Amaral on the bubble with a 51.8130, an exact replica to Gavin McCool's top time. Donald Ray now top of the board. This provides a ton of pressure to see which drivers get the boot and which drivers get the green flag. We'll find out once the session comes to a full close which drivers have to rely on provisionals. And with that being said, how much comes to mind tonight if you were amongst those in the field or about to be in the field in many of these cases, and you have to figure out, can you find some friends with 90 minutes to work around?
You definitely want to have as many allies as you possibly can in the field. Super speedway racing, it can be done on your own, but having strength in numbers is definitely a very important thing to worry about here at Talladega, much like Daytona. And these drivers use that practice session we had earlier to find their friends out there. Now it's going to be time to see what they can do to work together.
Here's a look at how they qualified via the top spots on the grid. We'll let you know which drivers in turn are the cutoff for the provisionals. Donald Ray, Hoeing Kowser are your top two spots on the racetrack. Michael Curhan, along with Stephen Hendren, amongst the top four. Tanner Talrico from Berlin Raceway and the graphic designer Ronnie Racing alongside Jonathan Tuckness. Bryce Hamrick, Tobias Matheson, one of the regulars in 8th. Brenner and Player are in your top 10 this evening.
Anthony Carrasquillo there in 11th alongside Travis French, making up row number 6. Just behind them, row 7 tonight is where we find Paul Lehman and George Bark, with Ryan Messer and Jeff Maconi making up row number 8. Row 9 tonight, Jamie Kephart alongside Michael Allen. And rounding out the top 20 this evening is Scott Garner and Tucker Tibbetts.
21st spot this evening going to Dalton McKinney. He started off the qualifying session at the top. Richard Giamatti alongside Eric Bolton. Tyler Blasingam alongside Michael Wambold. The last drivers we've just received have been confirmed. It's the top 28 who get the lock tonight. Gavin Gleitzman, Tyler Helso, and Billy Rickett are the last drivers locked in without provisionals. The rest of the drivers currently being sorted before the grid gets rolling here tonight. And a lot of drivers wanted a chance, and a lot of drivers had some technical issues. A couple get lucky. It looks like here, Aaron Shiflett, Gabriel Gotti are the two regulars who have provisionals.
Yeah, so it does look like we're going to be sending 8 drivers home that took a time here tonight, Justin. So unfortunately for them, their shot at the $250 is over for this round. But of course, opportunity will come again later in the season. And you will see up at the top, just to point out here quickly, next to the race countdown, it shows an hour and a half. That is our time limit for this event. So it's 100 laps or 90 minutes, whatever comes first here this evening.
Things extremely difficult when it comes to the race itself tonight. Keep in mind, as we get ready for a early morning to late morning race, no tire limit, 100% fuel load, so a full fuel run. And in turn, automatic cautions with the Gen 4 cars. What are your keys to win this one here tonight?
Key to winning the race tonight is keeping your car in one piece. That is always so important at every racetrack, but especially these super speedways. Any sort of aerodynamical damage can definitely set you back and possibly even end your evening. Of course, one fast repair to use throughout the event, but you're going to want to be sure that you use that at the right time and not to accidentally take it on an early pit stop. So keeping your car clean, finding your friends, and timing your run perfectly is going to be key to success here tonight.
based on your experiences, who do you think we should be watching the most tonight and why?
So a lot of these names are fairly new to me, but I have to go with Bryce Hamrick. I've seen him run super speedways in the TKC series. He's put himself in the correct position, was a great driver to push with and to be pushed, and that is so important here on these super speedways. So watch Bryce Hamrick. He's starting there up inside the top 10, and I would expect him to be a driver to compete for the win here at the end.
We're just about all set to go for Fast Fridays, presented by Maconi Setup Shop. And the money race. The winner gets $250. Who's it going to be? It's the biggest question on everybody's mind. We're happy to have you with us here on Maconi Entertainment. It's Donald Ray of the Area Series who controls the field. We're underway from Talladega.
As the green flag does come out, great jump from the outside lane. It's Holling Kauser getting pushed there by Steven Hendren heading for turn number 1. They remain side by side, the top 3 rows all together. Then it's Tobias Matheson and a break back to Andrew Player. So these drivers already separating a little bit. Justin, we'll see once these drivers find where they belong on the racetrack, who's going to be the ones to go for it early and who's going to be sitting back and playing it safe.
2 drivers did back off immediately. Jeff Maconi, Bryce Hamrick, both electing to drop back. Kauser trying to work on the top line. There's a look at the back of the main grouping. Already some separation, about 10th on back to start. But as to be expected early, 2 by 2, the name of the game, Kauser getting the push up to the front. Coming to the stripe, he'll be the 96 who leads lap 1 here today. One of the youngsters represents Maconi Setup Shop, leading the way early.
Kauser continuing his strong run up there on the high lane. Down on the bottom, Donald Ray getting pushed by Michael Curhan. They're going to go back to the race lead as that outside lane gets separated a little bit there. The inside does as well. You can see a gap now back to Tanner Tallarico as he tries to close that gap back up to Michael Curhan. This is going to allow the outside lane to get a bit of side draft, work their way back towards the high lane. See what they can do as we're going to come off of turn 4 once again. Looks like Donald Ray going to lead us here on lap number 2.
And Donald Ray is somebody that's done well at super speedways in multiple different leagues. He's got some help from Michael Curhan, who's been one of the top drivers on some of these oval tracks. He's one of the representatives from the University of North Texas up on that bottom of the racetrack. Keep in mind that there is a gap amongst the main packs already. There is a gap from about 18th on back that's starting to form because some drivers are trying to already back off and hard.
Yeah, pretty large gap here between Dalton McKinney and Aaron Shiflett. Now Shiflett closing the gap back up to McKinney. Looks like the 10 machine of Gavin Gleitzman going to try to swipe his way up through the middle. These drivers already getting a little bit bent out of shape with some of these moves up through the middle lane, but we'll have to keep an eye and see if these drivers calm down a little bit in the early stages of the event, or the drivers that started at the back feel like it's go time already. Get up there, get the track position, and hang out front as Gabriel Gotti already up 12 positions on the day. He started at the back, currently running in position number 18. So great gains so far by him as he's trying to work his way up front. You still see right there Kauser continuing to lead with Ray up there as well.
And Kauser amongst those who did fairly well with the Legends at Hickory last time out. Right now, he's continuing to stay in the patience group, and that's to be expected here. A lot of drivers very much so making it clear they don't want to go 3 wide extremely early here and risk major trouble.
Yeah, that's exactly it. You're going to see the drivers, like I mentioned, that are going to take it easy in the early goings. And I do just want to point out here, Tucker Tibbetts has worked his way to pit road. So issues for him as he's going to be the first driver basically out of this event. But like you mentioned, drivers not necessarily wanting to go 3 wide early on, playing it safe, or as I like to say, they're going to drive smart, drive clean, and be there at the end. And right as I say that, the 2 machine, actually that is the 12 of Gabriel Gotti, goes up, and we have a wreck.
Oh, and caution flag is out for the first time already. Gotti able to get through it. Others not so much. Wambold, Lehman, several more in the grass and along the walls. And already, it's our first yellow. It comes on lap 5.
Early incident here. We'll take a look here momentarily on the Maconi Entertainment replay machine, see what happened. But I counted probably about a dozen cars involved in that one. You can see right there, big stack up leading to quite heavy hit by the 16 machine up into the outside wall. Somebody at the tail of that got some airtime. Travis Finch going to be the driver to take a huge hit there as they continue to pile in down on the bottom lane. Multiple cars involved here early on, Justin. So that one fast repair might be coming into play here too early for these guys.
There is one available, as you talked about. But in turn, it's the big one already that ends up causing 4 meatball flags. Already a lot of drivers likely to have to take a lot of repairs. Bark, Allen, Lehman, and Gotti are amongst those mandatory repairs. The 22 already having to come to the pit lane. So let's add to that factor here now. If you're amongst those who are in this incident, do you risk just getting the car repaired and hoping you get enough cautions to fix it without the fast repair this early? And why?
It's really going to depend, Justin. You're going to have to check what the RPMs are sitting at in the car. Do you have engine damage? Can you get up behind somebody and get a visual inspection of your race car? Somebody has their hood flapping there. He's likely going to have to take the fast repair, but you really want to see what the damage is like on your race car. Maybe you take a turn down pit road, stop in your box, see how much damage you have. If you don't have too much, just get it fixed. That is another incident on pit road. A little crazy early on here, but yeah, you just want to see what your car is like and if it can be competitive. Otherwise, take the fast repair and don't take your stuff out of the event.
Aaron Shiflett, he's known for sending it. He's amongst those already having to get repairs done. Gotti does have the meatball as talked about. He's already fixed that with the fast repair. Bark is elected to get the mandatory damage repairs first and see from there. But with the caution, Kowser's the leader as they pace around. Stephen Hendrick is the one in second currently. Now, so far, we've talked about how finding friends and teammates is going to be critical. Ray and Curhan are the closest to that because they're a part of those of the area truck series. And keep in mind, Curhan, who's had a lot more experience this season in Fast Fridays, has been a contender for wins at Chicagoland, for example, already this year.
Yeah, it's going to be important, like we mentioned, to find your friends out here on the racetrack, but throughout the event as well, you're going to find the guys that you work really well with, and maybe the guys that aren't so stable in bumping or even just holding a lane in the draft. You're going to know who to avoid, who to work with as the event goes on. So we'll see who becomes friends as this advances through the stages. Very early, obviously only about 7 laps into the event, about an hour and 22 to go. So long way for these guys to establish those bonds and find who they're going to be working with throughout the event.
Expecting one to go this time by. Remember, this is a quick yellow racetrack. Doesn't look like anybody up front electing to come down to top off this early outside of Jonathan Tuckness on back you see on screen. So that's only a few lap offset. But if it does come down to time, even those little gallons, you'd have to say, could potentially be the difference. What do you say on topping off after just 5 laps?
I'm on board with that. My preference usually at a super speedway is to hang in the back anyways. So I would be the driver to come down, get the fuel. But this race is going to be about strategy and trying to make sure that you're out on the racetrack when that 90-minute clock goes off. If we don't get to the 100 lap point here tonight. So getting the extra fuel, giving yourself maybe an extra 2, 3, 4 laps, whatever it may be on the racetrack, could be the difference between winning and picking up $250 or coming home in position number 20. So I'm all on board for the strategies, getting that fuel and giving yourself a bit of extra life out there.
Right for the restart. Kowser, Hendren, Ray, Curhan, Matheson, Del Rico wants the top 6. Here's Aquio already up to 7th. Parker, or rather player, to 8th. Kephart and Bolton amongst your top 10. Your biggest mover in the early going is the 007. 007. An I rating of 843 is up from 23rd to 10th. One of the newer comers to the platform. What can you charge here?
Yeah, it's always impressive when you see the guys with the lower I rating. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're a lower quality driver. It could just be that they mainly run hosted races or league races, and all that I rating is based off of is their days back in rookie or D class, where everything is a mess all the time, and now they're just kind of stuck with that number. But should be a great show here. We still have an hour 20 to go, about 90 laps remaining, as the pace car going to go down pit road this time, I do believe.
Set to get back underway. Hour and 20 minutes left on the clock for reference as we come up to start lap 9. 92 laps to go. Counselor in control. This time on the inside line. Hendren leaves the outside. Green flag is out, back underway. And everybody taking their time on the launch this time.
Yeah, another great jump there, Justin, by Holden Kauser on the restart. Got out to a bit of a gap ahead of his pusher on the inside, Donald Ray. That's going to allow Hendren and Curhan to work together on the high side, maybe get a bit more of a uniformed push going here off of the initial start. But now we have Ray up to the rear end of Kauser, and they're pretty much able to stay even as we work our way down the back straightaway. Hendren gonna break out just a little bit here. Don't think he's gonna get Curhan clear. Actually, I believe he does now. They're not gonna dive low. They're gonna stay high. And that's something we're gonna have to watch as well. When you get clear, do you go low? Do you stay high? What do you do? Lots of options on the table here tonight.
Already another lead change as we're starting some of the shuffle. Hendren preferring the outside. Kauser preferring to lead the bottom of the racetrack for the time being. So, it leads to an obvious question in the money race. You know when it's pay time, the end of the race. So do you want to be those up front, like Pied Piper and Wrecking, or do you try and get on the binders in the back? Caution is out, a big crash on the apron, half the field is in it.
We just eliminated a lot of fast repairs right there. I think we just saw 2 or 3 cars go over, and this one started right from the lead, Justin. That is not where you want to see a wreck happen at Talladega as we watch on the Maconi Entertainment replay machine. Let's see what happened to bring out caution number 2.
And that came quickly. This has to be down to the lane change, because one of the big things in most cars now at Talladega, you change lanes in the middle of the corner by exit right here. It gets light and fast.
That's exactly it. You have the weight shift that happens, and what happened right there is we saw the leader move up to get in front of that second lane. Like you mentioned, the car gets a little bit unsettled, and the outside lane's also getting a bit more momentum on the exit, running right into the back of our leader, sending him around, and that collects a lot of cars. You see Ray go up and over. That's the 54 machine. He's going to go for a wild ride as well. Multiple cars just absolutely getting airborne here. We still have a car bouncing halfway down the back straightaway as well, and this wreck started off at turn number 2.
At least 10 plus cars making at least some contact. Wow, at least 2 took some hard slides. Ryan Messer, meatball flag, Leitzman. You also throw Hendren, who was up there for the race lead. Tower Hertz also already with the mandatory repair flag. That's going to hurt a lot of your contenders. That just basically took out almost everybody who didn't top off on the first caution.
That's exactly it. Pretty much anyone that didn't take that strategy call of getting the extra race fuel it was pretty much involved in that incident, maybe with the exception of a couple of cars, Kephart player, Gleitzman. Everyone else, you can see the damage of these cars as they head pit side. That's a lot of damage on these race cars.
And drivers are already being told they are going to bring us to 1 to green upcoming this time around. That's not a lot of time to repair the race cars for many of these competitors. Expect that command to come over pretty soon from race control. This caution only allowing a couple to stay out. Player with damage. Kephart, clean car. McKinney, clean car. Travis Finch, fast repair. Blasingame, fast repair. Gardner, fast repair. That's it. Those are the only drivers not coming down.
Yeah, and what this is going to do as well is change how the race might look on the racetrack. Guys are going to play it a little bit safer, or I would assume they would, knowing now that they don't have that fast repair to fall back on, or that they're still nursing the race car around the track, as many of them did pick up damage and maybe trying to save that fast repair just a little bit. And you can even see on the inside lane there, Player, I believe he has a little bit of nose damage, or it could just be how the hood looks on this car, but it's looking a little bit wavy to me at this point.
Just about getting all set to go here. We'll definitely see pretty quickly how Player's car is about to respond here. Right now, we're being told that that time you see up there, if it goes green, we're 11 seconds to the good.
Wow.
That's not going to hold. And if we get in our caution, it's definitely not holding.
11 seconds. That is extremely tight. I highly doubt that that's going to be made up. But I just want to point out here, we only have 5 cars or so up on that high lane right now. Actually make that 4. So the field very much uneven up top compared to the bottom, as everyone had to come down pit road, and I believe going 1 to green caused these drivers to have to start at the end of the longest line. As pace car's off, we're going to go green here, Justin.
Cars are still trying to catch up to the line while they come to the restart zone. Green flags out, back underway, and they're already going 3 wide at the start and finish line.
Yeah, I believe that is Jonathan Tuckness up on the high side. Now on the outside of Tyler Blasingame and Scott Garner, as they're going to be 3 wide between turns 1 and 2. This is going to work out for them. The track is wide enough for this 3 wide to work, but as the race goes on, you start going 3, 4 wide. You're not going to have as much space as he does try to get down. Tuckness does, and Bolton going to close the door as he has Michael Wombold just behind him. Now Tuckness going to have to fall back, nearly falling out of that top 10. Actually, he does now, as he's going to have to find a home on the racetrack if he doesn't want to just completely lose the pack and not be able to compete.
This is going to be a tough play for a lot of these drivers here already. Up top, though, the 42 of Kephart. It's the way this time around, as the damage slowing down Player as the lead car. Now, this is, again, a bold play if you're the 18. Paint scheme pun not intended there. But at this regard, what does this say in terms of what you should be feeling in this race car, rather what he should be doing? Mind you, the car that's second in line at the bottom, McKinney, is nearly pushing him.
Yeah, what's going to benefit him right now is the 2 cars ahead of him, Finch and Kephart, just came down to the inside lane, now able to get a bit of a harder push on the outside. Tyler Blasingame running by himself, no assistance there, but you want to feel stability in this race car. You want to feel that you have as much power as you started with. Obviously, a bit of damage on that number 18 machine, and if he does get pushed from behind, his rear bumper a little bit bent out of shape. So these noses that already don't line up properly are going to have an even harder time pushing that 18 machine, as we have contact for second.
Up into the wall goes Blasingame. He's able to get it out of the fence. Small scrapes, no damage. We stay green. And you would think it's lap 15. It'd be a sign to calm down. No, it's time to calm up, apparently.
I've never heard calm up as a term before, Justin, but I do like it as we see the 51 of Richard Giacomoto coming up on the high side. He's going to work his way 3 wide, nearly working his way to position number 3 on the racetrack. We'll see what he can do, but yeah, you would think being only on lap number 16 now that the drivers would calm down a little bit, We've already had 2 big ones on the track. We've cut the field down a little bit, a couple drivers out of the event, a couple more drivers not really having a competitive race car at this point and having to nurse it around. But no, these guys are just going for it. It's go time apparently already, as the racing is getting intense already up here in the top 10.
Leitzman not waiting a fair bit at all to go 3 wide up the middle there. Picks up a few spots, but you know who leads that outside group? 81 of Lambold. Keep in mind, that's a driver from Drive Smart Racing League, and that's also a driver that's not afraid to send it to get a win or a transfer spot. When it came down to the Drive Smart Racing League, as you know, that finished up with the top teams moving on essentially to get a chance to go to Daytona and watch the 500 and all the festivities with the Drive Smart crew and with Kyle Weatherman and co. That driver sent it Hail Melon style to be able to move on at the Charlotte Roval and win the Drive Smart race respectively there. Now he's to the lead once again here tonight.
Yeah, I'm lucky enough to work with the Drive Smart team, doing some really cool content with those guys. And like you mentioned, Michael Wambold up here leading the way. He is one of those Drive Smart drivers, and he's driving hard right now. That's the kind of driving he's doing. As he does take over the race lead, here comes Gavin Gleitzman to his outside. We're going to put a car a lap down up there on the high side. He's going to be up and well out of the way as the field works their way on through. I believe that was actually my race pick, Bryce Hamrick, that just went a lap down. So unfortunate for him, he's going to have a lot of work to do if he wants a shot at this.
A lot of drivers going to need a lot of luck here. Keep in mind, right now, with how things are breaking down, 19 drivers are in the midst of a draft pack, essentially. Only 16 are within the draft of the race leaders. Everybody else lost the tow, either during the repairs or trying to catch to the pace car for the restart. Near contact again. And the Pied Piper effect doesn't go lightly. It's time to go Intimidator mode.
These drivers are racing intense right now. They must think that we are at the end of it, as the 42 machine of Kephart battling back on the inside lane. He's been up here, a little bit of netcode contact there with the 10 machine of Gavin Gleitzman, nearly led to another incident up at the front. As here comes the 34. It's Tyler Blassingame blasting to the outside. We'll see if he can take over the race lead, as the 94 coming with an absolute head of steam. That's Jonathan Tuckness not too far behind up top, as they're going to fall back once again. Every time Tuckness gets a run, he just gets pushed right back out of it, as Gleitzman and Kephart side by side for the lead.
Gleitzman, one of those who runs in series like Redline Racing. He's in the midst of some intensive fights right now. I want to make it clear, he's not afraid to try and side draft a little bit. And at this point, if you're among some of these drivers here, what would be going through your mind? Because we haven't had a green flag pit stop yet in the racing legs the last lap. Imagine what it's like on the last lap for the $250.
It's definitely going to be intense, Justin. And the issue that I'm seeing that could really come into play, aside from the 34 blinking, that always could lead to major issues on a super speedway. But these drivers aren't really giving each other the space to come into the line, get out of the 3 wide position, fall into the lane. So when it comes down to organizing a green flag pit stop, are they going to be able to work together to get single file? I'm not sure that they will. So we could see some very crazy things, maybe a Quinn Half style opportunity pitting from the second lane that we saw in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series a couple of years ago. But we'll see what happens. Here is the field getting really tight for second. That's Finch and Gleitzman nearly coming together as they go by some lap traffic. Once again, that's George Bark. And, of course, Ray that we saw. Donald Ray was one of the leaders earlier and then ended up going up and over on his lid in the last caution that we had.
Well, they nearly came down into Jonathan Tuckness for good measure. Tuckness still had to keep up with the draft, but that was a close call. Now, also to consider in regards to all this here is, obviously staying in the lead draft is going to be critical. If you're amongst those drivers strut around at the back, that could be a problem, because as we've seen in the past in races like this, those drivers at the tail end of the pack usually fall off if they have one checkup. One bad checkup and loss of momentum could be a difference maker here.
That's absolutely right. If you end up losing the draft here, it can be crucial, especially with the field dwindling down due to those opening wrecks that we had. This is actually going to get crazy right here. Oh, big wreck.
Oh,
we just
no!
had one go way up and over. We were about to go 4 wide with lap cars as well.
Eric Bolton up and into the catch fence.
Wow.
And we're under caution. And
that was wild.
Yeah. I don't know what else to say. Straight into the catch fence. A la Jeff Gordon, Pro Invitational style. Let's take a look.
We're watching Bolton, Eric Bolton, down on the inside in the 007 machine. And that's the 34 of, I believe that's Blassingame that's going to go around there as well. Wow. Bolton gets big airtime right there.
Did he turn? Like, it didn't look like he turned left.
I gotta wonder, we were coming up on lap traffic. We had a lap car on the inside, a lap car on the high side. I have to wonder if potentially he was watching that lap car that was up on the high side and just didn't turn for the corner. We'll have to watch from his onboard here. David, our producer, giving us a great shot from inside the car.
Yeah.
It's hard to tell.
There. Doesn't matter what the turning is. You're on your lid.
Yeah, you could turn the wheel all you want when you're upside down. Probably not going to do much, as he is forced to take a tow. So unfortunately for Bolton, if he does take his fast repair, it's going to be a couple minutes before he can do it, as they have to get that car back to pit road.
So a flurry of pit stops now coming into play. So expect a pit party here for most of the field to be able to top off, get some fuel, but also potentially get some rubber here. Lucky Dunk this time going to several, including Donald Ray with a couple waves, Tucker Tibbetts. Cowser also getting a wave as well as Curhan. 1 to green already on the racetrack.
This could get interesting for those drivers that did just get a wave around. They're going to have to get that wave, come back around, and catch the tail of the field as these drivers all come down and grab themselves a pit stop. Like you mentioned, get some tires, get some fuel on board those machines, and see how far they can make it. I would expect probably one more pit stop for these guys, unless, of course, we do see some more cautions. You're going to see them come down a couple of more times. So we'll see what happens as they do come back out onto the racetrack. And leading the way is the 51 machine of Richard Giacomotti. He is out front. Scott Garner and Ryan Messer, the top 3. Gabriel Gotti and Jamie Kephart, the top 5.
So right now, almost 1 hour to go on the clock. As the rest of the wave rounds get complete here, that's Tibbetts trying to get more laps as well as Donald Ray. They won't catch up to the field likely in time here. As they get sorted out here, Monty has been in the conversation much of the way. Going to be interesting with Messer, though. He's amongst those who has been in the mix of some of the trouble. He's also somebody that's had some success in short track series. If you remember, say, the Atlantic Canadian Esports Short Track Invitational during the pandemic, he was one of those who picked up one of its first victories for Ryan Motorsports in the inaugural invitational race at the short tracks. He also runs a lot of late model action in the Atlantic region.
Definitely a strong driver in Messer as the pace car comes off. Let's go green and see if we can get a nice green flag run in here, Justin.
Let's find out how this goes as they go to the restart zone. Giacomotti in control this time. Green flag is out all the way to the end of the zone, and it's still not enough for the green car to get the green.
Major stack up on the high side there behind Scott Garner. Gabriel Gotti gets right into the rear end of that machine, tries to get him going here on the start. They're already gaining the momentum up on the top side as Giacomotti and Messer lead the inside lane here. We'll see potentially does Messer opt to get around Giacomotti and work his way to the race lead, because you know these guys now want their opportunities to lead us. Here comes Wombold right away out to the outside lane, looking middle. We could be having some 3 wide action here momentarily as it got very tight right there.
In turn, Wombold in the sucker hole, doesn't have any help. Nobody shuffling him in turn with the pass on the high side. Amongst some of those that are starting to make some pushes, a lot of competitors. Helmsel's back in the conversation. Michael Allen, Talladega in the conversation. Many of those who had to get repairs last caution couldn't catch up the field. The back of the pack here, it's now 22 cars deep instead of just the about 13, 14-ish at the time of yellow before.
The field definitely getting larger here as we're about to pass another lap car here. That is Bryce Hamrick once again going to get passed by our race leaders as he's going to go an additional lap down. But Garner continues to lead us himself, and Gotti dived down to the inside. They nearly come together as Gotti nearly hooked the Scott Garner machine, sending him up the racetrack. Now going to go to the inside. Gotti to the bottom, Garner to the middle. Here comes Wombold up top with help from Gleitzman. 3 wide for the race lead. It looks like Wombold's going to get it here coming to the line. He's going to lead us on lap number 27, but the battle coming back up top. It is, of course, Gabriel Gotti working his way forward here with Gleitzman.
Lots of shuffling, and Gotti in turn back up to the point once again. Gotti has been trying very hard to get up here. He's made it clear several times he's not afraid to be aggressive. Several races this season. Kephart not afraid to give some pushes, though, to the king of aggressiveness. Gleitzman near contact with the middle line. A couple drivers nearly forgot that Wombold was there.
That's the unfortunate part of super speedway racing. You get tucked up behind the guy that you're trying to push around the racetrack, and all of a sudden he dives down to the inside. You're stuck going with him, but if there's a car there, that could lead to big dramas. Just behind Wombold, we do have 3 wide once again. It's Shiflett, Finch, and Curran all together trying to work their way forward. They've got Giacomotti and Wombold just ahead of them here, as space is limited with how tight these drivers are racing each other, but they do get it sorted out. Player back into position as well. He's currently running 9th. That is the lead pack, and then there's a little bit of a gap behind them. Actually, now that gap going away as Royer and Garner gonna battle back. We have 11 cars up here in this lead pack.
Who's in the heart of it? Send it Shiflett has made his way up to a race high top 10. He nearly turned himself across the nose of Travis Finch. He's trying to send it everywhere, even when he doesn't need to send it yet.
Yeah, he's having himself a wild night so far. We saw his issues on pit road earlier this evening. Now finds himself in a tight battle for position, currently up to position number 6 out there on the racetrack. As you can see, the side draft really coming into play here. Outside lane often dipping down, trying to grab a little bit of extra assistance off those guys on the inside. And this is a car where you really want to rely on that side draft, maybe rather than a bump draft, because of course the nose of these Gen 4 cars, much like the ARCA car, of course, is like a wedge of cheese. If you get under there, you're probably going to go around.
Turn lead to a lot of smart plays if you want to play this race right tonight. 57 minutes on the clock, by the way. Current estimate is close. About a lap to 4 laps short, depending on what stopwatch you're looking at, and depending on if you factor in pit stops. You know who wants to come and charge forward? Go Speed Racer, go Speed Racer, go 03 car, go! Jeffrey Maconi is amongst those who's tried to come forward several times. It's almost like he can't decide, though. Does he want to be at the back of the pack, or does he want to be the leader and the bridge of the second pack?
Jeff's one of those drivers, as you know, Justin, that always has his head on a swivel. He's able to sense when things are getting a little bit wiry up at the front and potentially leading to a wreck. You can see right now, like you mentioned, acting as the bridge between that first group and the second group. And that's exactly where I would want to be at this point, because you still have the option, of course, to bail out if something goes wrong or charge forward if the opportunity presents itself. So watch for the 03 to maintain that position for quite a while here, but come alive when it comes down to showtime, as he's got himself a good race car at this point, much unlike some of the other competitors.
Turney's already backed off a lot all of a sudden. He's bringing Ryan Metzer, holding Kauser, Tanner Talrico with him. Finding some friends to work with. Compared to Tuckness, we've seen charge the front, take a 3 wide, go to the back, charge the front, take a 3 wide, go to the back and turn. Speaking of 3 wide, Hendren is leading the line. Shiflett tried to go up the track and nearly wrecked them.
I think Shiflett is a ball of energy on the racetrack. Anytime I see him out there, he's involved in some sort of high energy, high octane moment, either a tight 3 wide battle, maybe an issue on pit road, but he is absolutely trying to be the life of the party back here. We'll see what he can do, but the battle 3 wide up on the high side, Hendren doing a really nice job. But a car that I keep watching here tonight, the 42 of Jamie Kephart. He's been very smart up in the middle, and as I say that, nearly gets into the 51 of Richard Giacomotti on the inside, as now he has no help pushing. He's going to look for Shiflett to get back up there and be his dance partner.
Kephart continuing to shuffle on, and in turn, that's evening out the momentum at the side draft to the top line. See how long Kephart's able to keep it up. Kephart's primary running line, though, is usually on the dirt side. Look towards social media, more so for racing, and anything that has dirt on it. Not so much in terms of the super speedway variety when it comes to his favorite screenshots of all time.
And I could not imagine dirt on a super speedway. I think that would be pretty messy, but it still did cross my mind there, as we do see Gavin Gleitzman continuing to lead ahead of Gabriel Gotti and Richard Giacomotti. You have to have a G to start your last name to be in the top 3 here at this point.
Hey, what can you say? Speed comes into play sometimes. I don't know where I'm going with that point. But Kephart wants to go to the front. Now some of the others are saying they don't like 3 wide for the lead. Hendren to the point. Kephart to the side draft. Side draft doesn't work effectively. And in turn, that leaves the 2 car, Carrasquillo, stuck on the top for a moment as lap traffic approaches.
Donald Ray going to go an additional lap down. Of course, we did see him upside down earlier. Here comes the 42 of Kephart. Took a look to the outside of the George Bark machine. Opted better of it, opting to stay in line as this top 5, or top 6 actually, running all together here. A couple guys towards the tail of that lead pack as well. But the outside lane just not able to get there quite yet, as now Hendren going to continue to lead this top lane. We'll see if this time he's able to get a push by Bark and Kephart to get side by side with our race leader, Gavin Gleitzman, and potentially drop down to the inside lane and take over the race lead, because now at this point, especially with it being a timed race, you don't necessarily want to be the lead car the whole time, because you're burning fuel at a higher rate than these other drivers. So if you can get in line, save a little bit of gas, you're going to set yourself up for a better strategy when it comes down to game time here. We are just over 40 minutes in to this event, so still just under an hour to go. I believe about 52 minutes remaining, so we'll see what happens.
Now, as they continue to try and feel each other out, but also plan things out, because Gotti in particular is on 24 laps of fuel compared to everyone else's 12. I will say this. In terms of some of the decisions, whether it's the racing and whether it's the decisions of lines, keep in mind, it also could come down to decisions of what paint scheme are you going to run? I know that sounds like a weird question to ask, but That's an interesting question. If you look at the Sharpie car, I think David Quiggs knows exactly the car we're talking about. Because this, by the way, was a car made by Clifton Chanel that at one point was one of the most popular paint schemes on Trading Paints, in fact, back in August. Because, well, who doesn't want a Sharpie paint scheme added a Sharpie?
That is absolutely phenomenal. And, you know, this reminds me of a designer up here in Canada, Darren Dryden. He also does a lot of designing out of Sharpie. That's what he always did, and did some similar stuff to this. So really cool to see the Anthony Carasquillo machine out there looking essentially like a whiteboard with some Sharpie on it. It's just cool, and it really does stand out.
This was the third most popular paint scheme on August the 8th, 2023. Paint scheme designer's first iRacing award. In terms of trading paint schemes, that can be very lucrative in terms of the building side of paint schemes. But to the race back itself, Shiflett nearly looped it to the bottom of the track. And a lot of people are getting chatty on the radio in terms of, let's keep the cars straight here. After all, there's a lot of wear on some of these tires in theory, even though we're going full throttle when it's a super speedway.
Yeah, that's one thing about this Gen 4 car, actually in comparison to the very similar ARCA car, is you wear the tires out a little bit more, and that's something that's going to come into play. You're going to see drivers getting loose as Shiplet, the ball of energy, once again down to the inside lane. That car looks like it is all over the place right now. He is on ice here in Alabama. I don't even know if they have ice as caution's out.
It's Kauser. And we're under caution. Lap traffic hearing was a part of this one. Kauser was running an 18th into turn 1.
Tyler Blasingame involved in that one. Wow.
I think we might have to go one more time there because I think Blasingame turned him.
Watching that 34 Blasingame coming up on Hulling Kauser in the 96. Looks like he gets a bit of the suck, gets down to the rear end of that machine and sends Kauser around. Just some hard contact into the corner. Unsettles the car, sends him around, and this could help those guys that have not pit since lap 11.
Blasingame 10 laps down, running 26 at the top of the caution flag.
Oh.
And in turn, this brings us to caution with about 61 estimated to go. Coming 260 to go, in fact, to the stripe. And in turn, as we pace around on the racetrack, I'd like to remind you tonight's action brought to you by Maconi Setup Shop and by Maconi Entertainment. The home for setups, paint schemes, coaching, broadcasting, event promotion, and more. The iRacing service. Subscriptions available as low as $8 a month. Let's get Maconi Setup Shop, the official setup shop of eNASCAR, the official series sponsor of the NASCAR C-Fix Series. And while we have time, keep in mind, next month, well, technically starting this month to set up the beginning of next month, it's a whole new grouping of qualifying races because you have LMPs at Canadian Tire, the densest car specifically with the LMP3s, the SK Modifieds at South Boston, and the trucks at Eldora. A very interesting slate of qualifying races for next month's Fast Fridays races, Robert.
That is a wide variety of racetracks there. You have the road course, you got the short track, and you have the dirt track as well, and that all leads into Kansas, which is a amazing racetrack of its own, offers some fantastic racing, but will be really interesting, especially to see a lot of these oval guys heading to Canadian Tire next week and see what they can do there. And that's a track I've always struggled at, and I really enjoy.
And keep in mind, that's for a 3-foot customized trophy for that race next time. We head to the money race festivities. Hendren, by the way, wins the race off the pit road. So he leads the grouping out of said lane. Here's the interesting point, though. Gleitzman actually, I think, just got the edge somehow, for one. Get one to go. Two, a lot of drivers are playing, we're going to get another caution because Kephart, Finch, McKinney, Kauser all stayed out 17 laps into the run, including the pace laps.
That is definitely interesting. And for Kauser, the later we get into this run, the more unsettled his car is going to be, especially because, of course, we did just see him go around, and that put a lot of pressure on those tires aboard his car. So we'll have to see how his car's handling towards the end of the run, as some of these drivers will have the fresher tires, will have a bit more fuel, but going to be interesting to see how strategy comes into play here. 46 minutes to go. One stop, I would say, remaining for these guys. But we'll see who's going to get the upper hand. Is it going to be the guys that are staying out here for track position? Or is it going to be the drivers that have the extra fuel, go a little bit longer, and not have to come down right away?
Keep in mind as well, we have 21 cars in the lead lap. Tobias Matheson got the lucky dog. This caution flag. This is the highest up Travis Finch has essentially been in this race so far. Can he find the power of Rusty Wallace and find his way to the point in terms of the speed here tonight? We'll see in a moment. Kephart in control. Already about halfway through the race on minutes. Lap 42 gets underway with the green.
And a very even restart here, Justin, as Kephart and Finch going to be side by side. The outside lane was able to get together, 3 cars deep pushing. That is, of course, Cowser and the 10 of Gleitzman up on the high side. Down on the inside, Finch, McKinney, and Hendren. They were a little bit broken up, not necessarily able to get as big of a push, but we remain side by side down the back straightaway. That's Bryce Hamrick up ahead of the leaders. He's going to go another lap down. Won't really come into play this time, but Finch and Cows are able to get a nice jump ahead of the leaders. Let's see if they drop down. Finch does, Cowser does not, as now we have a new leader on the high side and the inside.
Turn back to the front for Cowser since some of the earlier troubles, including the big one, where he swapped lanes in the middle of turn 2, spun around by the exit. He's already back to the point. That's a razor-thin margin. Remember, Gleitzman's not been afraid to shove, even though this is a car that if you shove, you get underneath quickly. Know who's also got a clean car? Andrew Player, after keeping the track position earlier and taking the faster pair in turn to keep said track position. He's kept it since that call.
And as you just saw right there, another change for the inside lane. It's Gavin Gleitzman going to jump back down to the inside. That's a lane that he made his home earlier on before the last caution. But he has a new partner up there in the 16 of Travis Finch. We'll see what they're able to do as the 96 of Holland Cowser going to fall back now. He's going to get past as he's put 3 wide. The 51 of Richard Giacomotti going to work his way out to the lead of that middle lane. Behind him is Andrew Player in the 18 machine. They're side by side with the 4th place car of Dalton McKinney. So the outside lane going to have a bit of work to do here if they want to get up there and battle side by side. Now McKinney going to come up, give them a helping hand as here comes the run down the back straightaway. It's Andrew McKinney, or Dalton McKinney, sorry, up on the high side, down on the inside. Gleitzman and Finch.
Gleitzman in turn, trying to control the tempo yet again. That type of way much of the night where he's preferred to be the leader. Or, well, there isn't a second option with how he's played it. For McKinney, though, who needs a paint scheme when you can have speed? Let's go to the front. Trouble in the back.
That's Scott Garner.
Garner just apologized over the radio. He downshifted in the middle of the tri-oval. He just said.
There was ahead of this incident. I thought this was just a chain reaction, but accidentally downshifting is a pain and a heartbreaker because Garner was running fairly well up inside the top 10 here when it happens. We'll see if we can see that downshift. There's the stack up just ahead.
Right there.
Oof.
Yeah, that was an automatic motor grenade.
Whoever that white car was on the inside right there, though, He got absolutely lucky. The field split ahead of him. He was able to get through. I don't think that was Jeff Maconi, but another white car towards the rear just behind them. Very, very lucky not to get caught up in that incident.
That incident in turn, obviously, bad break for the 44.
Yeah, unfortunate for Garner here. Yeah, look at that. They just split right ahead of him, able to get through. Garner misses the inside lane. That's the 07 of Tobias Matheson, able to avoid that wreck. That could have been big for him had he got caught up in it, but able to squeak by as the field wrecked to his inside and his outside, and he just went on through waving.
So in turn, back under caution, and in turn, more pit stops. Means more top-offs, and this could be interesting on timing. 41 minutes to go, 1 to go again. This is why a lot of the drivers are risking different calls, especially Kephart, who just stayed out for a second straight caution. If you're on the wrong cycle, you're in trouble. If you're on the right cycle, you look like the biggest genius on the racetrack.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with that more. And at this point in the race, you're kind of between, can you make it? Are you going to be short? If I'm Kephart, I'm definitely short on fuel right now, but it could work out having that track position, get another caution, maybe 20 minutes to go. Everyone else comes down because they're going to want to get the freshest tires possible, have the most advantage, and he might not necessarily have lost too much track position at that time. So we'll have to see how it plays out for him here. Lights are off on the pace car. We are 1 to green once again. The off-track officials doing a great job keeping the show moving here, trying to get absolutely as much racing in as possible.
It's getting back all sorted once again. And as we get all set to go for here, we talked about paint schemes earlier. We talked about how we liked one look of a paint scheme. That's no shade given to one that actually designs a lot of them in the field, Tanner Talrico. We talked about he's in 14th spot. He's also a broadcaster for Berlin Raceway on top of being a racer in some of their series there. But he's also one of the paint scheme designers for a lot of competitors in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series. He's also done some paint schemes for short track racers across North America. Tanner amongst those with a lot of paint scheme experience. He's been as far back as 21st tonight.
Yeah, and the paint scheme he's running, definitely not an original of his, but it's one that I always love. I was a big Paul Menard fan, and anytime you see Menards on board a race car, it's a cool moment to see. But we're back under green here.
In turn, he's amongst those in the single file part of the field who pit double wide for everybody else heading up front. Nearly stacking up, and no surprise, Gleitzman is trying to go back and forth like his paint scheme.
Up on the high side, Andrew Player, and now working his way to position number 2, the highest we've seen him here tonight, as he has Anthony Carasquillo behind him. He's in the Sharpie car. He's going to mark up a plan to get to the race lead here with just over 40 minutes, actually just under 40 minutes remaining in the event. We have some new players and some drivers that have been up here most of the race so far. Giacomoto, Player, Kephart, Carasquillo, and Gotti, the top 5, as we are getting down to the second half of the race here today, actually the late stages of it, as we're going to be 3 wide just a little bit further back. That is Gavin Gleitzman up to the high side once again. He wants to go right back to the race lead. He feels like that's where he belongs.
Michael Curhan, he's back up to the front, and he nearly got sent all the way to the back again, nearly got turned, and nearly got squished in the heart of the field.
Just a little bit behind them there. Shiplet down to the inside once again. He was able to stabilize that machine as Gleitzman up on the high side. He's going to get some help from one of our lapped cars. That's actually, he's back on the lead lap. Donald Ray in the 45. We saw him up and over earlier on. Took advantage of some wave arounds. Now finds himself just outside the top 10 for the first time since he took a large tumble on the back straight.
That could be very helpful for that 24 car especially. Remember, Curhan and Ray had been amongst those trying to control the field before being involved in the big one early. Still, though, it's Player that leads the outside right now. Maconi, he leads the bottom. And most of these drivers up front are on the near same cycle, except for Kephart. Kephart needs to pit within the next 20 laps if it goes green for now. It hasn't trended that way, though. Our longest run's been under 20 laps.
It hasn't trended that way, Justin, and I don't see that trend changing at this point, especially as it is coming down to go time for these drivers. The intensity going to pick up even further than it is as you see very tight three-wide racing here, nearly contact between Gotti and the 24 machine of Kurhan as they're going to get past three wide up on the high side. That's the 10 of Gleitzman, once again with help from Donald Ray. These guys absolutely know that it's nearly time to go as the 51 of Giacomotti gets bumped out of the way. We have a wreck. It involves Shiplet on the back straightaway.
No caution yet. We stay green. Shiflet is still spinning it and crashing it. Everybody else gets through except for Gotti. Shiflet hard into the wall, but no one else is around, and he's on the apron. No caution. And nearly wrecking again. Womble nearly getting turned. Giacomotti nearly got his nose chopped off. He's still getting his nose chopped off as here comes the run for the lead.
Yeah, Giacomotti definitely not going to be happy with the way he's been raced right now, but I have to point out those two cars up on the high side here. Both Bryce Hamrick and Donald Ray, they were both lap cars not too long ago, now up inside the top 10 once again with opportunities to get up there and play as Gotti heads pit side. Carrasquillo heads to the race lead with Gleitzman, Kerr, and Ray and Player the top 5 here. A very different top 5 as we're getting down to the final 35 minutes of this event. It's go time.
And a lot of these drivers starting to feel the pressure with track position. Keep in mind, part of the reason, too, a lot of these drivers starting to figure out, or try to at least, where do they want to be in the pack. It's not like some of the other cars where you can find a buddy in tandem draft. You need to essentially be in position to get a run, because we've already seen the outside's been very difficult to get going if you don't have enough cars.
That's exactly it, Justin. You need strength in numbers to make that high side work. We're now seeing the 81 machine hop up to the high lane with them as well. It's Michael Wombold going to get behind Hamrick as Donald Ray goes from the outhouse to the penthouse here. He's going to take over the race lead as actually Gleitzman just able to nip him there and get back to the race lead. But the high side coming alive as the middle lane going to fall back a little bit. It's Player and Kephart as Kephart needs to stay in line as well to make sure that he's not burning more fuel than he absolutely has to at this point here, because he's well short of being able to make it to the end, but he wants to stretch it as far as he can so he's not stuck going down pit road all alone.
That's going to be difficult unless Kephart gets some luck here in the next few moments or so. Still 3 wide in the heart of the field. Still trying to sort themselves together here. Player in the middle. Ray wanting to lead for the first time in a while. You know who's also back in the lead lap in the midst of all this? Hamrick. And he's been also not afraid to floor it, to be able to go up there when there's been momentum. He's hooked onto Ray. Now it's the matter of, can he find a way to control the line with Ray?
Yeah, as Player leads here, he drops down to the inside just ahead of Gavin Gleitzman. He's actually going to go all the way to the apron, slides up nearly back onto the racetrack. Looks like game temporarily over here for Andrew Player as he's going to fall back outside the top 10. New leader Donald Ray with Bryce Hamrick pushing him up on the high side. Does Ray drop down to block the inside or the middle? We'll see here, as I believe he's trying to get Hamrick clear, but just not enough momentum. They're going to go 4 wide with a lap car.
Oh, that's going to be trouble for these leaders. Nearly. Tibbetts just avoided getting clobbered by Ray.
That could have been really bad there for Tibbetts. He's able to fall back and join the tail of the field, but Donald Ray nearly ran into the rear of him as they're 3 wide once again for the race lead. It's Donald Ray, Gavin Gleitzman, and Jamie Kephart as they work their way through turns 1 and 2. Gleitzman able to jump ahead. Now 3 wide joining that fight is Anthony Carrasquillo. Is up to the middle is the 10 car of Gavin Gleitzman just ahead of Jamie Kephart. They're 4 wide. Hamrick in the wall. Here comes the 51 of Giacomo up through the middle. He's going to get behind Donald Ray as now Hamrick going to get cycled out of it. Things are getting hairy here already as we still have 30 minutes remaining in this fight.
Press that intimidate button yet again, apparently. Gleitzman making it pretty clear. He's not afraid to drive to the front. He's really trying to feel that super speedway energy in the Intimidator paint scheme tonight. But eventually, something's got to give. He's been going 4 wide a lot, that 10.
Yeah, 4 wide definitely coming to play a few times here over the last portion of the race. These drivers have to know that, yes, you can go 4 wide. It's not necessarily recommended because more often than not, your cars are going to get sucked together. You're going to have a big wreck. And that's what we nearly had here as we put Hullenkauser a lap down. The race leader earlier on now finds himself all alone. 1 lap down as the side-by-side battle for the lead does continue. It's Donald Ray up top with help from Giacomotti. And on the inside, it's Gleitzman with Carrasquillo as they work their way across the start-finish line. Once again, we have 30 minutes to go.
30 minutes left on the clock. That's an estimate about 38 laps. It is very unlikely we make it on laps distance unless a lot happens, to say the very least, right now. But now it becomes the question here. In terms of this factoring here, what do you do if you're amongst those that are not in this main pack, if you've not been getting the luck because Hendren and Bark have just lost the draft, for example?
Yeah, if I'm Hendren and Bark, I'm doing whatever I can to obviously try to get up to Talladega and Maconi, but the quicker that those guys catch the main pack, the further Hendren and Bark are going to fall off the field and essentially find themselves out of it. So what they're hoping for, of course, Justin, is another caution. They see how these guys are racing up the front, the 3, the 4, possibly even 5 wide, and you're just hoping, fingers crossed, toes crossed, that the yellow flag does come out once again. And I mean, if you're Michael Curran, or actually, sorry, Jamie Kephart, you're hoping for much of the same as well, but just hoping that you're not caught up in it.
So right now the driver's rhythm is the calm before the storm period, seems to be. Now this is the calmest the racing has been in about 25 minutes, it's almost felt like. Never mind, it's almost 3 wide time. And a lot of these drivers also know it's money time in terms of gas. So keep in mind, if there's another caution, everybody can top off from here, make it to the end likely.
Yeah, at this point, you're thinking about, do I have enough gas to make it? I don't know that they do. Even if they did just pit on the previous cautions, I still think it's going to be tight. So you're thinking about, when do we come down? Do we try to wait it out for a caution, or do we try to get a group together to come down together, get some fuel, and be able to make it to the end and still have strength in numbers to get back to the race lead? So a lot is going through these drivers' minds right now, especially Jamie Kephart being as short as he is at this point. He's just hoping that maybe a caution will come out, or these guys are going to come down, play some strategy of an early pit stop to try to make it to the end of the race. So we'll see what happens here as we are getting in the late stages, and we're still side by side for the lead. Gleitzman on the inside, Ray up top.
Both lines have essentially equalized out here on speed. 200 miles an hour at the end of the straightaways. Neither line essentially getting any advantage with how the numbers are playing out here. So with how this is going, you know who's joined in on the numbers we haven't touched upon too much? Tobias Matheson. Talked about him being a regular in this. He's had a driver behind him just pit. Sean Royer just pit from the main pack.
Definitely an interesting call from Royer to come down pit road, especially coming down alone. That usually doesn't work. We'll see if potentially a caution falls for him and it pays off, but I believe he may have just taken himself out of any possible contention for this race. But yeah, you mentioned Tobias Matheson up here inside the top 10 for, I believe, would be the first time tonight. As we saw him earlier dodge a wreck, everyone split around him. He was able to get through, but now up here in the top 10, looking for his opportunity to race for that $250 prize and, of course, a trophy on the line as well.
Can't confirm Sean Royer just parked it. Also on the DNF list as of late, Aaron Shiflett, Tucker Tibbins, all have just parked their cars with under 30 minutes to go. Grand total of 16 on the lead lap for now. Still keeping an eye, too, on that main back grouping here. Talladega still the back end of the grouping. You have to be also wondering, too, the fatigue level maybe coming to play. I know it's only been just more than an hour, but it's more than an hour of white-knuckle racing at a super speedway for some of these cars.
That's exactly it. And the way that the racing has gone so far, Justin, everyone has been racing extremely tight, and that can be mentally draining. But I do have to point out here, we mentioned Hendren and Bark not too long ago. They have nearly caught the tail of that lead pack. They had help from Jonathan Tuckness. Tuckness now going to work his way up and try to fight his way back to the top 10. And if Hendren and Bart can get single file and get down to the inside lane behind Talladega, they're going to have a real shot to get back with this main pack and be back here with an opportunity to potentially compete for this win here in just over 25 minutes time. But competition really hot at the front, as it does look like Gleitzman able to clear Ray for the first time in a while. He has Carasquillo behind him, as well as the 24 Michael Curhan, as we have one down to the apron. I believe that to be Dalton McKinney in the 53 machine. Now he's going to go 3 wide as Bryce Hamrick coming up through the middle between McKinney and Kephart.
Hamrick making the pass. It's a lot of communication on who's clear and who's not clear. Apparently it started with the 51 according to the radio chatter. And that could have been another big incident. And despite that, Jonathan Tuckness chooses now as the time to go.
Yeah, Tuckness trying to put himself in a good position here to get up and get to the race lead. But one thing I'm seeing here, Justin, and this is typically an indicator on the super speedways, the majority of the field has gone single file. This could potentially mean that we're getting close to pit stops, if that is an issue that these drivers are having to deal with tonight. Or maybe they just want to calm down for a second, have a breather, get a sip of water, and now get back to it, as we see the second lane starting to form once again, led by Bryce Hamrick.
And take a guess who lifted off the gas as soon as he helped Hamrick. If your guess is Tuckness or Tuckles, both of those guesses are correct.
Yeah,
it looks like you... Yeah, go ahead.
Tuckness got all the way up there pushing that lane, and now he's pulling all the way back to the 14th position. So maybe he was just trying to stir the pot a little bit and then fall back to safety.
I believe they're close friends, those two, if I remember correctly, because keep in mind, Tuckness, on-time short racer, track racer on the platform. He's been with a couple groups, including Maconi Setup Shop, of course, as of late, including doing all the tutorial videos last year for the Rookie Legends series for Maconi.
Tutorials definitely come in handy at that rookie level as you get out there and you're just absolutely lost. But now we have a side-by-side battle once again for the lead. It is Bryce Hamrick up top, Gavin Gleitzman on the inside, and the side draft really coming into play here. The accordion effect, outside, inside, coming together as these drivers trying to get every possible advantage that they can to see what they can do to get out to the lead and maybe fall down to the inside lane or block the high side, depending on what your strategy is at this point. But Hamrick doing a really nice job up top with help from McKinney. Contact right there between Carasquillo and Gleitzman, gets Gleitzman a little bit sideways, and that's going to give Hamrick an opportunity to clear ahead of the race leader. We'll see if he opts to drop down, and I don't think he will. I think he's committed to Dalton McKinney for now until McKinney does clear Gleitzman on the inside. Then they may drop, but we'll see what happens here as Gleitzman battles back on the inside, Justin.
Back and forth in terms of momentum. Keep in mind the trends in sim racing for many years. The middle line's quicker down the straights. The bottom line quicker through the corners. Gleitzman, he's trying to pull back those fenders to the point where he's nearly theoretically trying to psychologically pull that fender back with his hands.
He was close enough. He could have pulled that car with his hands. Oh, as we have one around, it's the 51 of Giacomotti. Caution once again, strategy gone, as that includes the 42 machine of Kephart. He's going to go around once again here on the front straightaway.
Caution is out, offset 3, and in turn it's Tobias Matheson, who I think might be the trigger here. The 07, keep an eye on the replay. Yep.
Yeah, good call there, Justin. 3 wide gone wrong. Matheson and Giacomotti come together. Then, of course, you see Donald Ray involved. The 42 of Kephart also involved in that incident. So at least 4 cars involved here. About 21 minutes remaining in the event. I would expect most of the field to come down here, get fuel, maybe some tires, and that should be the final visit to their pit crews this evening. As once we go back green, you know intensity about to go right through the roof.
Especially with $250 on the line and under 20 minutes to decide it now. Can definitely say it's not coming down to laps here. We're under 26 laps to go on the estimate, and we'll go down even more from here. But this is likely going to be able to get everybody to the end on gas. Gleitzman, Hamrick, Carasquillo coming in, McKinney staying out, interestingly enough.
Yeah, McKinney's last pit stop on lap number 45, so 23 laps ago for Dalton McKinney, potentially banking on there being a couple more cautions and not having to take as much fuel as some of the other drivers, or actually not having to take fuel at all and being able to save some here. As you can see, guys, getting a splash and go. Bryce Hamrick leaving pit road.
Race off the line. This time by the race going the way of Hamrick by a sizable margin. Curhan is back up there with one bold. Player Maconi wants those up front as well. Of note, Gotti wants those getting a wave here, coming up to the 1 to go signal.
Yeah,
already taken the 1 to go, in fact, should say.
I believe this will be the first time we've seen Jeff Maconi up in the top 10 at this point in the race. He opted to, I believe, just take gas and go on pit road. They're now going to find himself up in position number 6. Yeah, you can see right there, the previous highest position was 9th, so just inside the top 10. He's been running at the back off of the lead pack all day long. Now he figures that it's go time, so he's going to get up there and try to keep a little bit of house money with stealing the victory here tonight.
We'll see if luck shines on his side tonight. He's found ways to get into attrition in some races. Tonight, he's been able to stay out of all the attrition, at the very least. But as they get sorted out here, it's McKinney and Hamrick, Curhan and Wumble, Player and Maconi, Gleitzman and Tallarico, Carasquillo and Hendren, Bark, Kephart, then Tuckness, Matheson, and rounding out the drivers in the lead lap, Donald Ray and Richard Giacomotti. Of note, Giacomotti is not going to catch the field in time. Donald Ray is still in turn 3, trying to catch up to the set pack. It could be borderline. Under 20 minutes to go, coming at 17 next time around. Green flag waits. It's out. Back on our way. Good timing for the 24.
Fantastic push by Curhan there to the rear end of Dalton McKinney. They're going to get a nice jump here on the initial restart here. Up on the high side, Bryce Hamrick looking for a bit of help. He is the 81 of Michael Wombold a little bit behind him here. We'll see if Wombold able to get up to his rear bumper. Jeff Maconi up there as well, but Hamrick falling back all the way to the third position. He's going to be side by side with Andrew Player down the back straightaway. Now that push from Wombold comes. Here comes Hamrick up on the high side. He's side by side with Curhan for second, and he's looking for first as he's about to take a look to the outside of Dalton McKinney.
McKinney trying to play as many lines as possible here. Hamrick already trying to ask for help without getting touched here. That's going to be the critical part. Using the arrow bubble if you want to help instead of using that front chrome horn. Gleitzman nearly poked his nose and horn underneath Player.
Yeah, and as soon as that happened, Jeff Maconi jumped to the high side and pulled the parachute, hit the eject button, and has fallen outside the top 10. So he senses that danger right around the corner. As like you mentioned, contact right there between Gleitzman and Carrasquillo. They're going to go 3 wide. That was aggressive right there. The 10 of Gleitzman just bullied his way up. Now going to go 3 wide between the 24 of Curhan and the 81 machine of Wombold. Actually, Curhan able to pull away, so it was side by side with Players. He's going to get to the back of Bryce Hamrick and push his way forward. But the 10 of Gleitzman, he is not ready to sit back and relax and enjoy the show. He wants to be the show here.
Hamrick in turn wants to be the Pied Piper. Gleitzman, he's trying to push again. Hamrick trying to hold onto the wheel as hard as possible. Gleitzman trying to shove his way as hard as possible to the lead without trying to jack up the back end of the leader.
15.5 minutes to go. It's Bryce Hamrick up on the high side. Contact a little bit further back between Carrasquillo and Player, but up front it's side by side. McKinney on the inside, Hamrick up top. They make contact. It's Gleitzman all over the rear end of Bryce Hamrick here trying to clear for the lead. Hamrick is your leader as they come to the line once again. 15 minutes remaining in this race. Intensity has rocketed to the top as Gleitzman and Hamrick gonna move down to the bottom here. Actually, they're gonna stay middle as Gleitzman gonna go down to the inside. Here comes Gavin Gleitzman to the race lead.
That seems to be planned though. No, it's not. Tuckness leaves Hamrick to dry. He leaves his friend out to dry for the race lead. Tuckness goes to the point. Now he gets left out to dry as he now wants help from Hamrick. Carrasquillo in turn wants help to the point. He gets help now in turn from Matheson. In turn, Gleitzman wraps the bottom and holds on to the point. It looks like Tuckness and Hamrick, at the very least, want to work together. It doesn't seem like they know what way they want to help each other.
Yeah, drivers absolutely trying to work every lane at this point as Tuckness drops to the inside. Hamrick going to come with him. They're going to take over the lead on the inside lane up through the middle. It's Donald Ray with help from Tobias Matheson. Now the 2 of Carrasquillo going to get behind them. That's going to be the high lane trying to work their way back up to the front as the 10 of Gleitzman jumps up, nearly hitting the 45 of Donald Ray. Carrasquillo going to jump back up to the high side. Action all over the place now as the third lane trying to cook, and they've opted to come back to the middle and stay calm for just a moment more as we're getting down to the late stages. Tuckness down to the apron. Here comes Hamrick.
Tuckness pulls the ejector cord from the race lead this time. Hamrick in turn loses the lead. Gleitzman moves back to the point. It's 3 wide to the back of the main group. Player, Tuckness still trying to sort themselves out. Kephart also trying to sort themselves out together here. Coming to 16 estimated laps to go.
late stages of this one. It's Gleitzman on the inside, Donald Ray up top with help from Tobias Matheson as they're going to come and take the race lead here, but the battle continues to be side by side for the lead. The high lane trying to get something going towards the rear. Now it fizzles off as it's Ray on the high side. Gleitzman on the bottom. The opening comes in the middle there as Matheson had an opportunity to potentially take it. He's going to look and now gets behind Ray once again. Here comes the 81 of Wombold. He continues to peak to the outside, thinks better of it. I think that's a good call for him as Gleitzman leads on the inside. Hamrick behind him up top. Donald Ray with help from Tobias Matheson coming down to the final stages of this one.
Nobody can decide how they want to work together, let alone how they want to run in the working groups. Gleitzman loses a lot of help. Hamrick has to lift off the gas. In turn to the point, Donald Ray. He's back to the lead. Gleitzman doesn't let Matheson get clear. Lap traffic already up top side. Gleitzman in turn trying to poke underneath Ray. 3 wide as Matheson gets shuffled back. Now Matheson pulls back Ray. Gleitzman leads at the stripe. Matheson works it back to the middle.
Tobias Matheson leading that middle lane here. The 2 car up on the high side all alone. That's Carrasquillo. No help for him as Matheson trying to get Donald Ray back to his rear bumper. Here comes the 81 machine of Wombold into the side of Carrasquillo. These guys have come together multiple times here already as we ride on board with the 10 of Gleitzman. You can see Hamrick all over the rear end of him, trying to give him a good push here as they work their way off of turn number 4 this time. Matheson up top, Donald Ray behind him, player there as well as Maconi. Is everyone trying to get a piece of the race lead, trying to plan how they're going to get there with just 11 minutes to go.
That time by, though, it was Matheson who led by 6/1000ths. It might come down to that razor-thin margin at the stripe here. Hamrick in turn, trying to work with what he's got. He works into the bumper of Gleitzman, and in turn, another hold-up. Remember, Gleitzman hit the back of Hamrick when he was leading up on the outside line in the early turn of a round. Matheson, in turn, takes advantage to get to the bottom of the racetrack. And it's a battle of tit for tat, it almost seems like. If you are not afraid to hit me with the bumper, I'm going to hit you with the bumper.
Yeah, you can see the bumps here from Gleitzman to the rear end of Tobias Matheson, getting very, very aggressive here as we're coming to about 10 to go. Gleitzman moves Matheson up the racetrack. Now Matheson going to fall back through the middle. He comes down, pinches a little bit on Gleitzman as around goes Carrasquillo.
Caution flag is out. A spin in the heart of the racetrack. Michael Curhan around, involved as well as Jonathan Tuckness. And this could set up a wild finish here from Dega.
These drivers were getting aggressive out front there, Justin, and that is going to lead to some really intense racing in the closing laps. Watching the 83 of Jonathan Tuckness there. That's the chrome-looking car in the middle lane coming up on Carrasquillo in the 2. Let's see what happens to these drivers.
Wow, he tried to block the run from the top line. This is not the car to do that.
The 81 machine able to squeak on by. That's Michael Wombold as well. The 03 of Jeff Maconi. Both of those drivers. Actually, Wombold goes way down, does some landscaping here. He's going to send the invoice to the folks at Talladega Superspeedway.
Yeah, there's a lot of runoff area to escape to. But the field trying to find a way to catch up to the pace car and fast here. Under 9 minutes to go when they reach the stripe. So keep in mind, if we get our caution, there is a chance it ends under yellow, depending on how many laps we play out. And the reason I just paused there is because Matheson had to check up by going in the grass.
That could have been Harry right there as he's able to get it gathered back up. And I think it's going to be a really interesting restart here. Like you mentioned, if we do get another caution, that could be the end of it. We could end under the yellow flag, as of course we do probably have about 3 to 4 minutes on this caution cycle alone, and that includes speeding it up to go 1 to green likely this time by. So we'll see what happens as these drivers do get down to the nitty-gritty, and I'm expecting absolute chaos right from the drop of the green flag.
So in turn, Gleitzman at this point is at the point he wants to become one with the pace car. Drivers are already being instructed that if it ends under caution, quite simply, it ends under caution of the timer. Well, he's trying to become very much one with the pace car.
I wonder if he's tuned in right now and he knows that he's getting TV time driving inside the pace car.
I feel like I've seen him do this before. Whether racing against him or in this series before. I've seen this before from him. I swear.
I think we've all done this a time or two. Get up there, get inside the pace car. I haven't done it in a long time because I haven't led a race in a long time, but it was always fun back in the day, especially when I was a rookie coming up through the iRacing ranks. But speaking of drivers coming up through the ranks, this, like it was just mentioned by our producer, this could be a great opportunity for some of these newer drivers to the sim or some of the lesser known drivers to have a great opportunity come out here, battle for the win, potentially pick up the win and that $250 and really put their name on the map here tonight. So watch for some intensity out of some of those drivers as well, maybe beyond the limits that we've seen from them in the past.
And eventually, Gleitzman's not going to become one with the pace car anymore, but was about to say, it's happened to a lot of drivers when it comes to big wins, whether it's even just 250. We're talking up to 2,000. We're talking up to 10,000. It's either been by one of the big names, or it ends up becoming a name that 5 years down the line even, we're talking about is one of the big names. Elvis Rankin comes to mind. He's one of the top young prospects in all of sim racing right now. 5 years ago, that driver was one of the top drivers in an MX-5 series. In turn tonight, it's about seeing who's able to get the top spot tonight for $250. 6 minutes to go. In control, it's Gleitzman. Donald Ray in second. Tobias Matheson, Bryce Hamrick, the top four, backing away.
Great jump there by Gavin Gleitzman, but you have to wonder, potentially, is that too big of a lead? He offsets that by jumping up ahead of Donald Ray, and right away, Stephen Hendren gonna take to the high side and start that third lane, see if they can work their way up this time. Of course, last time it got blocked, led to a caution flag, but here it is. Gavin Gleitzman leading the inside, help from Tobias Matheson. The middle lane, Donald Ray with the 94 of Bryce Hamrick. As up on the high side, it's Stephen Hendren and George Bark. They're going to try to charge forward here. 3 wide for the lead on the inside. Gleitzman, middle, Ray, and top side, Stephen Hendren.
Can any lane get the advantage, though? 2 working up top side. Hendren has the biggest run off the banking. Hendren going from nearly off the lead pack to the race lead. Coming to start lap 83, under 5 minutes to go. Estimated 7 laps to work with if it stays green. Still 3 wide as everybody looks to go.
Everybody knows we're getting down to crunch time with the clock. They have to get every position they possibly can here, do what they can to get to the race lead, and that's exactly what Hendren's doing up top with help from George Bark. They're going to clear ahead of the leaders. Hendren actually gets the outside wall. That's going to ruin the momentum of the high lane as now the middle lane charges forward. It is Donald Ray and Bryce Hamrick up through the middle, but Gavin Gleitzman going to retake the race lead with Tobias Matheson behind him. It is time to go, and everyone has hit the accelerator. Here we go.
Single file for the top 3 spots. That's going to change pretty quickly here. Matheson to the bumper of the 10. Ray trying to gather it back up. The top line with Hendren starting to die off. Here's the 2 up top for now. Expecting 5 to go at the stripe. If it keeps going, nobody leaving anybody out to try yet. Matheson thinking about it, it looks like, based on the angle.
It is Gleitzman continuing to lead. Tobias Matheson behind him. The high lane charging back here. Hendren leading that charge once again, but Donald Ray gonna do a little bit of side drafting. We'll see what he can do with help from Bryce Hamrick and Tanner Tallarico as Tallarico joins the fight as well. He's gonna try to close in on Bryce Hamrick, give that lane a bit of extra acceleration as they're gonna be side by side for the lead. Gleitzman on the inside, Ray in the middle, and Hendren back to the lead. Nearer contact right there between Matheson and Hamrick as we are getting down to the final 3 minutes of this one. Everybody jockeying for every possible position here as Gleitzman continues to lead.
Point of no return at the stripe. Under 3 minutes to go. Estimated coming to 3 laps to go. 3 wide still. Ray leads the middle group. Bottom charge again from Gleitzman. The top group once again dies off as they pick up a third car. Giacomotti trying to find a way to keep up with them. Same for Maconi as they jump to 3 again up top. Still the run for Donald Ray as he comes to the line. Leads the edge for now, but it's still Gleitzman who leads the point. Here comes the shuffle with Hamrick to the top.
Top lane absolutely cooking now. Bryce Hamrick jumps up ahead of the 20 of Steven Hendren. We'll see what they can do this time. Their bumpers don't align as around goes Hamrick.
Trying to hold on to it is Hamrick. Hard contact for Ray. Several drivers slide through. Tuckness drives through at full throttle. And right now it's Gleitzman who's the net leader. This could be close. If we get a restart, Race Control is trying to speed through. Let's take a look.
This very well could be the end of it here, as I believe the time remaining is about on par with 1 caution pace lap. We watched the 20 of Hendren into the rear end of Hamrick, and Hamrick going to go around causing a big stack up amongst the field. Multiple top contenders involved, and that will most likely, Justin, end tonight's race with 1:20 remaining on the clock. I don't know.
The only way they can end this race, or rather get this race back going, is if they go straight to 1 to go here. And they are still trying to catch up to the pace car. This is going to be extremely tight if they try and do this. There are a lot of damage from wounded race cars there.
They have caught the field, though. We'll see.
Race Control was just about to say, has just told them they would try, but it's going to be hard. Remember, the pace lap is about more than a minute.
I don't think they can do it, Justin. I think the time is too tight to be able to make it around, but I don't know. Maybe there's something they can do here, but we haven't even made it back to the start-finish line yet. 25 seconds remaining on the race time. Of course, this is not the Daytona 24. We're not going to stop a minute early. We're going to try to make it the whole distance here tonight, but I think we might have hit that distance.
10 seconds on the clock. Expect this to either be the checker flag or the white flag here in turn. Gleitzman coming down to the clock, reaching zeros under caution. Gavin Gleitzman, all zeros on the clock. And looks like Race Control just received the confirmation. This is the end of the race. Gleitzman is at the lead with the clock at all zeros.
Wow. That was lucky right there as you see checkered flag displayed. Gavin Gleitzman, $250 richer tonight here, Justin.
From 26 to first, Race Control just announced it. This is the race. Gleitzman, Matheson, Hendren, Curhan, and Kephart in the top 5. And there are still drivers trying to hope this race gets back going. But from what can tell here, the clock's already reached zeros. The race lineup is already being decided here by the sim. We're already in runoff time for the sim itself.
Yeah, I really can't see this going green once again, but I guess miracles do sometimes happen. I'm not sure. The field is still doubled up. The lights are off on the pace car.
Jeffrey Maconi has already confirmed from race control. It is official. Even if we get back going, Gleitzman wins. He's the official winner per race control.
And there you see it, the field starting to drop down to the apron. This, like you mentioned, is the end of it. And Gavin Gleitzman is your winner here. Led 36 laps tonight. And he's going to take home $250 and the big trophy to celebrate tonight's victory.
So well done indeed to be able to hold on for the checker flag. He made it pretty clear. He was going to drive like the Intimidator. He absolutely drove like the Intimidator. Bryce Hamrick is already parking it in victory lane, or at least at the start-finish line. He wants to be the winner instead, but the sim has already officially ended the race.
He tried whatever he could there to snag the victory at the end. Didn't work for Bryce Hamrick, but good try anyways.
And just to be safe, Gleitzman's going to go an extra lap because you never know. So once again, Gleitzman gets the win. It has been called official. Your thoughts on this one, Robert?
Yeah, that was a really good race that we saw from these drivers. Of course, we did have a couple cautions that led to big ones, but the side-by-side tight racing that we saw, the side draft coming into play, the bumping that we saw that doesn't always work in these cars came into play as well. And you know, Gavin Gleitzman, he channeled the aggression at the right time, got himself in the position, and was there to steal the victory at the end. So congratulations to him, and congratulations to everybody that was able to finish this one.
In the words of Super Hamrick, he wished that worked to be able to get the edge at the line. And does Gleitzman celebrate the way that his paint scheme indicates? Yes. He's going to try.
He's learning how to do the burnout here. There it is.
Gavin Gleitzman gets the victory here tonight. 36 laps led. And as he burns it on down, take the time to spark a short break. You're watching Maconi Entertainment, coverage of Fast Fridays and its Money Race, presented by Maconi Setup Shop.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head to head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series in officially licensed cars engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
When you want to be the best, you can't settle for the rest. For anything on iRacing, there's just one name you need: Maconi.
With the launch of Maconi Entertainment and Maconi Competizone alongside Maconi Setup Shop, we now provide the best of the best in setups, paint schemes, coaching, broadcasting, and event organization.
With cars across all 4 license classes, we have what you need to hit the track with confidence. Grab a subscription and save money while going fast at MaconiSetupShop.com/subscriptions.
There is a reason that Maconi Setup Shop is partnered with more real-world tracks and companies, including Junior Motorsports, than any other group on the iRacing service.
And remember, at Maconi Setup Shop, there are setups, but your victories.
Welcome back to Fast Fridays coverage here at Maconi Entertainment, presented by Maconi Setup Shop, the official setup shop of eNASCAR. Let's Let's take a look at the race results. Again, Race Control has deemed the race results official. Your race winner tonight goes to Gleitzman. He's $250 richer tonight in turn. He gets it over Tobias Matheson, Stephen Hendren, your top three. Michael Curhan, Jamie Kephart, Anthony Carasquillo in the top six. Jeffrey Maconi, followed by Richard Giacomotti. Bark and Tuckness, your top 10. Keep in mind, Tuckness went under a car by flooring it and then sending that car to the moon as the caution waved because it's the final lap. Robert.
Just outside the top 10 tonight, Tanner Tallarico finishing 11th, followed by Andrew Player in the 18 machine. He finishes 12th. Dalton McKinney in position 13th tonight. 14th is Donald Ray. We saw him go up and over earlier on in the event, was able to battle back, go up to the race lead, then fall all the way back again to that 14th spot. Bryce Hamrick, much of the same as Donald Ray, a very up and down night, comes home in 15th. Holland Cowser, our pole sitter tonight, 16th. Mike Wombold in 17th. Gabriel Gotti, 18th. Sean Royer, 19th. And Tucker Tibbetts round out the top 20.
The rest of the starters tonight listed on screen. That includes Shiflett, 37 down. Finch Gardner ends up going laps down after blowing a motor and downshifting in the middle of the pack. Ryan Messer, DNFs. Helsel also ends DNFing along with Blasingame, Allen, Bolton, Prainer, and Lehman. Your 30 starters here from Dega. So with that being said, looks like your race winner is standing on by. $250 richer tonight. He replicated the moves of the Intimidator. He used the Intimidator button about a few dozen times. Used the Chrome Horn another few hundred times. It's Gavin Gleitzman. Gavin, talk us through your race tonight. You're $250 richer in turn.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Thanks for hosting it, Jeffrey.
This is not Jeffrey. This is the broadcast booth. This is not Jeffrey Maconi.
Yeah, I was just really aggressive and wanted to lead a lot of laps. And because I knew we were most likely not going to complete the 100 laps, I just wanted to lead as much as possible because I knew it was going to end on time.
In turn, though, talk about the mindset for this type of race because touched upon it a bit. You're in a Dale Senior scheme for one, and in turn seemed to live up to that scheme. You were not afraid to send it 4 wide, 5 wide, use a little bit of the bumper, switch lanes as soon as possible. How would you describe that mindset tonight?
Yeah, it's really hard to push in these cars without wrecking somebody, and I just felt like to do it right, you had to just keep pushing and try it out, and just be as aggressive as possible. And
So
just
go ahead.
I don't know, just take every chance I could get to pass cars and move through the field. And I pitted at pretty much every caution just to make sure I was good on fuel the whole time, and it was a really fun race.
So with that being said, anyone you want to give a shout out to for this race win tonight?
Not really.
Okay, well, congratulations on becoming $250 richer.
Thank you.
Gavin Gleitzman getting the job done here tonight, here in Fast Fridays, and picking up a $250 check in turn. Tobias Matheson, in turn, finishes second, just 1 spot shy. He's with Robert.
Yeah, standing by here with Tobias Matheson, our runner-up tonight. Tobias, we saw you go with a bit of a safe strategy for the early portions of today's race, hanging towards the rear of the field. And then when it was time to go, you really came alive. Why don't you walk us through your race and maybe talk a little bit about some of the challenges you faced trying to avoid some of those big ones out there?
I mean, I saw them adoring each other, and then I just decided And then I just decided to go back from the field and not get involved in anything.
Definitely a good call by you, going to the rear of the field, playing it safe, and then coming alive, like I said, when it was time to go. But do you think maybe there was a point towards the end of the race that you could have done something a little bit differently and put yourself one step higher on the podium tonight?
I could have pushed harder, but I decided not to, just to keep the car safe, not from getting wrecked. That's my goal. That was my goal for the whole race, just to keep it clean and finish in the top 3.
And that was definitely a very solid goal for you. And obviously, a great finish tonight, nonetheless. Came home in second. Still a very solid evening for that 07 machine. Do you have any shout outs you want to give people to make this happen for you, Tobias?
I mean, I want to give a shout out to my family. They've done everything for me, and I've just got this new wheel for Christmas that really helps me a lot. Just the guys helping me in the NASCAR Youth Series, coming to Richmond Raceway in 2024. A lot of other tracks. You guys should check that out. And I just want to thank all my friends.
Well, congratulations to you on a solid finish tonight. Shout out to all those that do support you each and every night you get behind the wheel of these race cars. And we hope to see you back here again next Friday night.
I mean, I hope so. I'm glad to be back.
And we're glad to have you. That's Tobias Matheson, our second place finisher here tonight.
So that's your top 2. I'd like to thank Leitzman and Matheson for taking the time to speak with us during post-race coverage here on Maconi Entertainment. And again, to emphasize, the next time out, it's LMP3s at Canadian Tire. It's a home race for both of us, technically.
That's exactly right. Both of us from here in Ontario, Canada, and it'll always be nice to wave that Canadian flag at the racetrack. So
in turn, a road course race for a little bit of a different taste of flavors next time out at Canadian Tire. SK Modifieds at South Boston, Trucks at Eldora before the next money race, next gen at Kansas to win a 3-foot customized trophy. I'm curious what that customized trophy is going to look like next time out when it comes to this series. But on that note, I'd like to thank tonight's sponsors, Maconi Setup Shop and Maconi Competitive Zone. Calling the action tonight was myself, Justin Prince, alongside Robert Hill, with David Quinn producing. Thanks to our viewers for watching tonight's racing action, and we hope you stay tuned to our social media pages for our next Fast Fridays race. And don't forget to tune in each week for a broadcast of the Top Split, the Maconi Setup Shop C-Fix Series. This has been a production of Maconi Entertainment. We'll see you at the Checker Flag.